story name: The Cursed River. The river was strange. Throughout the town, stories swirled about the Grimson River. Some claimed that beneath its surface lay something that dragged people down, while others whispered of voices heard at night, calling out for help from the water's depths. Adam Thompson didn't believe in such superstitions. As a researcher, he sought scientific explanations for mysterious phenomena. However, witnessing the fear in the townspeople regarding the river piqued his curiosity, compelling him to investigate. One night, armed only with his camera and notebook, Adam made his way to the riverbank. The darkness enveloped him, and the water's waves seemed to sway in a mysterious rhythm. The air felt heavy, as if something was lurking just beyond his sight. Gurgle, splish, splosh. Adam heard a strange sound emanating from the water, one that felt unnatural. Suddenly, the leaves on the surrounding trees fell silent, and a chilling breeze swept through the area, sending shivers down his spine. He set up his camera to capture the scene, but as he looked through the lens, he caught a glimpse of something beneath the surface, shadows swirling and twisting in the depths. Shaking his head to clear his thoughts, he focused again on the water, but the vision lingered in his mind. Then, without warning, he heard a soft whisper, a voice calling his name from the river. "Adam, come closer." He felt a chill run through him, his instincts screaming at him to turn back. But curiosity had a grip on him. He stepped closer to the water's edge, peering into the inky blackness. "Who's there?" he called, his voice trembling slightly. No response came, only the sound of the water lapping against the bank. As he leaned over, the whispering grew louder, echoing in his ears. "Help us, please." His heart raced as he realized the voices seemed to be coming from the depths of the river itself. He took a deep breath and crouched down, trying to see through the murky water. Suddenly something caught his eye, a dark shape moving swiftly beneath the surface. Panic surged within him, and he stumbled backward, landing hard on the ground. As he looked up, the moonlight illuminated a figure rising from the water, a woman with long, flowing hair and a face twisted in anguish. Her eyes were hollow, void of life, yet they seemed to reach out to him, begging for salvation. "You must help us," she cried, her voice echoing hauntingly through the night. The world around him grew dim as he felt himself being drawn closer to the water. He fought against the pull, but it was as if the river itself wanted him to join her. Just then, he noticed others emerging from the depths, figures that were once human, their faces distorted and desperate. They reached out, their hands grasping for him, as if he were their only hope. In a moment of sheer terror, Adam scrambled to his feet and ran, stumbling through the underbrush, the whispers trailing behind him like a ghostly chorus. The river roared in fury as he fled, the haunting voices growing fainter. He didn't stop running until he reached his car, breathless and trembling. As he drove away, he glanced back at the river, now just a dark silhouette against the night sky. But even from a distance, he could still hear them, the cries for help echoing in his mind. What had he stumbled upon? What secrets lay buried in the depths of the Grimson River? The next morning, Adam awoke to the sun streaming through his window, but the events of the previous night haunted him. He couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister lay beneath the surface of the Grimson River. Determined to uncover the truth, he decided to return to the town and delve deeper into its dark history. Arriving at the local library, Adam spoke with the librarian, an elderly woman named Mrs. Wilkins, who had lived in the town her entire life. He approached her cautiously, knowing the legends of the river were not to be taken lightly. "Excuse me, Mrs. Wilkins," he began. "I'm looking for information on the Grimson River. There are stories about it being cursed." The librarian's expression shifted, a shadow crossing her face. "Ah, yes, the river has always had a reputation. Many have gone missing over the years, and those who return are never the same." "What do you mean?" Adam asked, intrigued. Years ago, there was a tragic incident. A group of people went for a swim and never came back. Some say their souls are trapped in the river, crying out for help. Her voice quivered as she spoke. Adam felt a chill run down his spine. Is there any record of those who disappeared? Mrs. Wilkins nodded and led him to a dusty corner of the library where old newspaper clippings were stored. He pored over the articles, discovering stories of the missing, young men and women, all last seen near the Grimson River. Each account bore striking similarities: strange whispers heard, shadows in the water, and a deep sense of dread. One article caught his attention. It detailed a ritual performed by the town's ancestors to appease the spirits of the river. The townspeople believed that a sacrifice was needed to prevent the restless souls from claiming more victims. "Do you think the river is still hungry for sacrifices?" Adam asked, his heart racing. Mrs. Wilkins sighed. "Many believe that the ritual must be performed again, or the curse will continue to claim lives." Determined to confront the truth, Adam decided to investigate the river again that night. As dusk fell, he returned to the riverbank, armed with a flashlight and his camera. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the air felt charged with an unseen energy. He set up his camera to document everything, hoping to capture any signs of the supernatural. As he waited, he noticed the water's surface began to ripple, as if something stirred beneath. The whispers returned, echoing in the stillness of the night. "Help us! Help us!" Fighting against the fear that gripped him, Adam stepped closer to the water's edge. "What do you want?" he shouted into the darkness. "Why are you trapped here?" The whispers intensified, swirling around him like a cold wind. "The ritual must be done." Suddenly, the water erupted, and the ghostly figure of the woman appeared once again, her face filled with desperation. "You must help us. The river demands a sacrifice." "Sacrifice?" Adam echoed, confusion and dread flooding his mind. "I can't do that." The woman's expression shifted to one of anger, and the water began to churn violently. Shadows twisted around him, pulling him closer to the river. "If you do not help us, more will suffer." In a moment of clarity, Adam remembered the article about the ritual. "What do I need to do?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Find the heart of the river. It lies beneath the altar where the first sacrifice was made. Only then can we be free." Without waiting for a response, the figure vanished back into the depths, leaving Adam standing alone on the riverbank, his heart racing. He knew he had to find the altar, the key to breaking the curse. Determined, he followed the river upstream, using the flashlight to navigate the dense underbrush. After what felt like an eternity, he stumbled upon a clearing where the water pooled into a small, serene lagoon. At its center, a stone altar emerged from the water, covered in moss and strange markings. He approached cautiously, examining the symbols. They were the same as those he had seen in the newspaper articles. With his heart pounding, he knelt beside the altar, feeling a strange energy pulsing beneath his fingers. "What do I do?" he whispered to the night. The water around the altar began to ripple violently, and he could hear the whispers rising once more. The heart, the heart. Suddenly the ground shook, and the water erupted, revealing a dark, pulsating object trapped beneath the altar. Adam reached out, his hands trembling, and as he touched it, a surge of energy coursed through him. In that moment he understood the truth. The heart of the river was not a mere object, but a vessel of the lost souls, bound to the water for eternity. If he didn't act quickly, he would join them. With determination, Adam grasped the heart and shouted, "I release you!" A blinding light enveloped him, and the whispers turned to screams. The river roared in fury, and shadows clawed at him, desperate to reclaim their lost power. "You cannot escape," they cried. But Adam held on, channeling every ounce of strength. "I set you free. The blinding light intensified, enveloping Adam in a cocoon of warmth and power. He felt the heart of the river pulsing in his hands, its energy resonating with the cries of the lost souls. They were not just whispers anymore. He could feel their pain and sorrow, their desperate need for release. As the light surged, the shadows writhed angrily, clawing at him like a storm. "You cannot free them!" they roared, their voices merging into a cacophony of despair. "They belong to us." "No," Adam shouted, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "You have held them captive for too long. I won't let you take anyone else." With every ounce of his will, he pressed the heart against the stone altar. As he did, the symbols on the altar began to glow, illuminating the clearing with a brilliant light. The shadows recoiled, their forms distorting and flickering like candle flames. "Release them!" Adam cried again, channeling his energy into the heart. The ground trembled beneath him, and the water surged as if responding to his call. Suddenly, the figures of the lost souls began to rise from the river, their forms ethereal and glowing. They floated around Adam, their faces a mixture of hope and fear. "Thank you," they whispered in unison, their voices harmonizing with the whispers of the river. As the heart pulsed, Adam felt a connection to them, a bond that transcended time and space. He could feel their stories, their fears, and their longing for freedom. They were trapped no longer. "Let go of the pain," he urged them. "You are free now." With a final surge of power, Adam released the heart into the water. It sank, sending ripples across the surface, and for a brief moment, the entire river glowed with a radiant light. The shadows screamed in fury, their forms twisting and dissolving into the night. "You will pay for this," they howled as the lost souls ascended, their faces now peaceful, finally free from their torment. The clearing fell silent, the tumultuous energy fading away. Adam stood alone, breathing heavily, his heart racing from the encounter. The river, once dark and sinister, now sparkled under the moonlight, reflecting the tranquility that had settled over the area. As the last of the light faded, Adam felt a profound sense of relief wash over him. The curse of the Grimson River had been broken, and the souls could finally rest. He turned to leave, but a gentle voice called out to him from the water. "Thank you, Adam. You saved us." He looked back, but there was no one there, only the peaceful river, its surface calm and still. The sun began to rise, casting a warm glow over the landscape, and Adam knew he had witnessed something extraordinary. He had not only uncovered the mystery of the river, but had also freed those who had been trapped for so long. As he made his way back to town, he felt a sense of purpose. The stories of the Grimson River would live on, but now they would be tales of hope and redemption, rather than fear and despair. From that day on, the river was no longer cursed. It became a place of remembrance, where the lost souls could finally be at peace, and where the living could find solace in the beauty of nature. The end.